At ICAG, we stand for leadership and we are inspired to offer more. Leadership stands up to be answerable. We use our national and international conferences to tell our story and hold ourselves to high global benchmarks. Leadership is where brilliance is rewarded. We reward brilliance with scholarships for postgraduate students. Leadership thrives on fresh ideas. Our tertiary business sense challenge makes you see business from a different perspective. Leadership is not about today. We keep an eye on tomorrow by providing internships in high-ranked institutions to inspire the next generation of business leaders. Leadership is acquiring ATSWA, CA Professional, Post-Chartered Diploma from ICAG. ICAG, where leaders become more.
All right, it's 2 p.m. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all to this afternoon's virtual platform. As we may be aware, the Institute has evolved over the years and seeks to continually find innovative ways to engage and to interact with our esteemed students. One such way is through these virtual platforms. So this afternoon's program is quite special because it's the first in many respects. But before we delve deeper into it, I want to call on Mr. John Hansen to give us the opening prayer, a short one.
Okay, shall we pray? Father, we thank you in the name of Jesus. We invite your Holy Spirit to take control, to direct the affairs of this afternoon's program through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Mr. John Hansen of the Institute, for giving us that opening prayer. The Chief Executive Officer of the Institute is supposed to give us a welcome address. I don't know if it's yet with us. If it's not, then perhaps Mr. Oseji Jimfi will give us something short so that, yes, if the CEO is, places our CEO on, if our CEO is on, he will give us a welcome address. But if the CEO is not on, Mr. Osei will give us something brief so that when the CEO comes, anytime he joins us, he gives us his opening remarks. Mr. Osei, so do you have anything to tell us before we...
Okay, thank you so much, Alassane, for this opportunity. And good afternoon all to our cherished students. And also to the facilitators that we have assembled to take us through this session. As ICAG, we are committed to the welfare of our students. And I must say that contrary to the perception out there, the ICAG has a quota system within which anyone who falls outside the quota system, irrespective of whether the person passed or not, will be failed. At ICAG, we rather invest heavily in the development of our students. For that reason, we have developed a world-class syllabus and spent over 1 million cedis in developing learning materials for the students. We have also invested heavily in the training of our examiners and even tuition providers. And such a forum that we are holding now is one of the reasons why we can say clearly that ICAG has the students at heart. Indeed, we have organized this forum because we have observed that the pass rate for especially a case study and corporate reporting has been very low over the years, and especially so with the introduction of the new syllabus. We have also observed that there is a wide gap, an expectation gap between what students think are the requirements and what is required by them, from the examiners. And so with this forum, we will hope to bridge that gap. And to do so, we have assembled examiners, subject experts, who will take us through what is required of you as a student or as a candidate to pass the examination. We know for sure that with their input and your also kind attention, by the end of the presentations, you will be able to pass your examination. Indeed, we must also admit that as an institute, there's a lot that we have to do in order to help our students, and we are doing our part to do so. It is also very important to note that the students have a part to play. And so we are appealing to you students also to do your part, to study very hard so that we can have the pass rates increase. Now, with an increased pass rate, we'll be happy. There's no truth in the fact that we want students to fail. That is far away from the truth. Rather, we want every student to pass. That is why we are going through all these to ensure that we increase our pass rates. Yes, corporate reporting, case study has been at great heels of many of our students. But we are very confident that after today's session, we will see the pass rates rising. And so I wish you all the best. Enjoy all the sessions that will be presented. Pay attention, take notes, and you pass your examination. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Osei. As you may be aware, Mr. Osei is a technical director of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, Ghana. So this whole exam is under his office, and he's leading the team to deliver on our core mandates. So, Mr. Osei, thank you once again for stating the purpose for this gathering. As indicated, this program is meant to bridge the gap between those who are passing, the very few who are passing, and those who are failing. Of course, we want to improve upon the pass rates we have. We are not at all enthused about the pass rates. We wish that it is improved upon, and that is why we are organizing this program. So we have assembled the best, the experts, indeed, the examiners for these two key subjects. So strategic case study and then corporate reporting are very important for a professional accountant. It is for this reason that we selected those two, at least for a start, to help us to interact. So what we'll be doing today is to bring to you the examiners. They will share with you what they think you need to know going into the exam. And if you have the opportunity, or if you can ask any question you want to, just go into the comment section and then type in your questions so that we will try as much as possible to respond to all your questions before we leave the program. Now, as way of introduction, we are going to start with strategic case study. And then once we are done with the strategic case study, we'll go on to corporate reporting. So what I'll do is that I'm going to introduce, we do not really want the images of our examiners to show, but we may mention their names. So that they will know who is coming first and second. But once they are done, we will leave the floor open for questions. So if my examiners from strategic case study are available, I want to, I don't know if Joseph is around. If Joseph is around, then he may come in and then talk to us briefly. Once he's done, we'll bring in our doc and our prof, and then they will also share some few points with us. So if Joseph is around, I don't want to mention your full name, but if Joseph is around, please, the stage is all yours now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alasan and the team, and let me also welcome colleagues who will be joining me to present this information. And for the purpose of this presentation, we'll be having it about 3 sections within 1 hour for the case study. I'll do mine, and then a colleague will also come in to actually highlight other issues which the students might be interested, or to assist the students to pass and pass well. Thank you. So to start with, let me also say here that whatever I'm talking through will be made available to the students through the Institute website. So after the end of this program, you can go and access it. And as the technical director said, our aim is to make sure that you pass, and you pass legitimately and pass well. So I start I guess it's a discussion paper, but I titled it, What Students Need to Know when actually taking the institute case study exams. So I started with a background, and the background is basically, it is generally accepted that a case study is the most valuable method of testing higher skills, such as communication, reasoning, and recommendation within the constraints of conventional examination that we normally do. So the institute adopted this a few years ago. The approach of using case study to assess students, but unfortunately by far the performance is well below average or expectation. A case study is an attempt, let me be clear here, it's an attempt about the limitation by isolating circumstances of the examination room, because you are isolated in an examination room and you simulate, but we try to simulate a workplace problem solving for you to deal with. So this allows the examiners to move one step closer to the assessment competencies that is possible with easy styled questions. So bear that in mind. Why the purpose of the exams is to prepare you for the industry. We also appreciate that you are sitting in an examination room, hence the case study. So the case study exams are difficult to pass if the student relies on conventional or memory-driven learning style. So to summarize, the summary structure, which I'll be taking you through, is to help students appreciate that case study examination requires deeper understanding and a more confident application of knowledge. And I highlight its application of knowledge rather than mechanical repetition of notes that have been provided by tuition provided or the textbook. So I start with what is the student currently, what are the students missing on the assessment metrics? We make sure that because it's a case study, it's a wild paper, but there must be a metrics which we use it. And the metrics is having 9 key pillars that the students are supposed to know. The first one is the student have to prioritize. Prioritization, that's clearly prioritized in a logical order and based on a clear rationale of whatever you are doing. The second is the knowledge. Thorough display of relevant technical knowledge at an appropriate level. And here, appropriate here, underline because it must be appropriate as someone prepared to enter the industry and put the skills into practice. We also expect a numerical skills, relevant data clearly identified, calculations correctly done, workings clearly shown to back whatever is being communicated on paper. Structure is very key. We also look at the structure as part of the grade. And this is good evaluation of options. Always there will be options. Life is about decisions, including doing nothing itself is a decision. So we must always make sure that we are led, that whatever we are evaluating might be more than one options, so that whatever we are concluding, we state clearly why we are recommending a particular valid recommendation. Business communication, because this is a business environment. So excellent and appropriate communication in good business style. And here also underline good business style. You cannot throw out anything and get the mark. You must make sure that you are talking to your senior management. You are talking to corporate leaders. You are talking to captains of the industry, and therefore it must be clear. Don't let them go and fish for the information. It must be very clear. Message must be clear and must be effective so that it is ready for use. Format, precise, professional format and structure with good use of relevant appendices if necessary. Appendices are very critical because your manager or your CEO is going to a business, and we expect that you might provide a summary, and as part of the conversation, they must go into the details. And the student must be able to be aware and provide that when they get into practice. Business awareness, high level of business awareness, and use of real world examples. This is very, very critical. Real world examples. Therefore, as a business student in our day-to-day activities, we might be sensitive to the environment and be filtering through and making sure that we are responding appropriately to the needs or changes of the environment. And we must be having a full breadth. Most issues in the case study identify, covering a wide range of views. So how do you now package the views to the extent that it becomes relevant for use to outsmart or to outweigh whatever competitors you have that you are competing in that industry? And the information must also have a depth. Each issue covered to an appropriate level of detail. So answers must always be aiming at providing enough evidence that yes, the student is providing the information in a very comprehensive and it is evident in a very critical thinking mode. So that is what we call the assessment metrics or the assessment grid. Then the next one is analysis of an exhibit or appendices. And this is analysis and identifying the current position of an organization or a relevant problem facing an organization. And to do that, you get the case study allowing you some time, 2 weeks or so. Please don't actually outsource that service to an expert, because it is more of a miniature of a dissertation to put all that you've learned in your professional career together and put it into practice in future at the first opportunity in the exams. So you'll be having the pre-seen material. You have to organize yourself to solve that material and familiarize yourself with the material through cross-referencing of the material, do detailed analysis, identify key issues, and then predicting requirement. Predicting requirement is very, very critical. And then further investigation through your predictions, and then technical preparation. So this is what we call analysis of the exhibit or the appendices. This is very, very critical, because if you don't go through this chain of knowledge, you'll be stranded in the exams room, and that is where what you produce might not meet the passing mark. Then time management, which is my fourth point, is very critical. Time management is always a problem in examination, but even more critical in the case study exams. The sheer volume of data may result in a challenge, hence students need to understand and allow the following steps, which I will call time allocation. You familiarize yourself with the case. You have to do detailed planning. You have to do analysis, and you ask yourself, within this case, as a professional accountant, where is my adding value? My adding value might come from calculations, it might come from practical issues, it might come from logic, the logical issues, it might come in how do you put it on paper to communicate with your management. And then after communicating with your management, they will call for a meeting. So remember that whatever you present to management must not be cast in stone. It must be reviewed, and you must be present to justify. And after that, then you create what I will call, or the examiners will call, your time planner. The fifth is the requirement and issues. The requirement and issues is to analysis and identify the current position of an organization, the relevant problem facing an organization, and appraise possible feasible courses of action available. So some of these courses of action is what you have to make sure that you are ready before the exams. Analysis might be required, and therefore there is a need for you to mind map and produce what I call a skeleton of a plan in your mind. A skeleton of a plan in your mind, using probably what I'll call scenario building or sensitivity analysis. What if this scenario, it asks as a question, what do I do? Or what if the managers or captains of the questions ask this, what do I do? And then you should be ready to provide additional exhibits, and that might come in a form of assumption where students perform poorly. Anything you are doing, there must be assumptions, and those assumptions you should be able to live by it and be confident that it is relevant to the industry or the particular problem that you are identifying to help resolve. Key issues might come up out of your assumptions, and out of that one, it's likely that there might be more than one solution, so you have to prioritize. Dealing with A, if A doesn't work, you go to B, and that is where in most exams, they will be looking at immediate, short, and then into a long-term solution of dealing with some of the problem-solving cases that you might be made available to you. Then the issue number 6 is how do you apply your knowledge? And this is very critical. How do you apply your knowledge as a student? Applying strategic management techniques to make and support decisions within a stimulated business context. You cannot create your own questions and solve. There is a case study before you. So whatever analysis you are doing must respond to the case provided to you in a pre-scene, making space through your what-if analysis and scenario building for the unseen material which will actually conclude the case. So students gain credit for taking relevant opportunities to use knowledge to support arguments. Also, students gain credit for the way they apply knowledge to the facts presented in the scenario or in an exhibit or in an appendix, while also gaining additional credit in a thorough and realistic way, recognizing the limitation of whatever solution or recommendation the student you are providing as a student. Don't think in life, in reality, every solution will also create another problem or a challenge. And therefore, you must bear that in mind when you are actually concluding whatever you present. So key areas that you must focus on is the key topics areas. Students should be able to develop a checklist. And some of these might come, some of the cases, it is not exhaustive, but I'm just giving you a pointers to our mind, hacking into our mind as examiners. It can be a major capital investment decision. It can be a restructuring and rationalization of an organization to make sure that it is business sustainable. It can be a merger on acquisition. It can be an information system development to make sure that the organization is at a cutting edge to outweigh whatever competitors are doing to create a competitive advantage. Evaluation of strategic options. Outsourcing sometimes can be a critical decision, or sometimes it might be a supply chain partnership that the organization have no option than to enter into if the business, they don't want the business to extend. There is also a knowledge audit as a student that you have to do. Knowledge audit include, but not limited to, proposed acquisitions, sources of finance. Whatever you are suggesting, don't think that is the end. Whatever you suggest will require money, which is the ultimate. So sources of finance, and then structuring the deal. Finance must come in so many. Do you go to the open market? Do you contact family members or old schoolmates? Or do you do private share floating? Whatever it is, the student must be apt and running at that top-notch knowledge level to be able to pass the exam. Recovery of cost recovery is very critical. Management restricting and then areas around control, because the organization might have its own vision, missions, and it might be known for certain things based on its ethics or whatever the organization proud itself. And therefore, everything might not necessarily fit all for them, although it might be desirable, but for them it might not be necessary. Then financial and numerical analysis. World calculations will be calculated, and this will require adding value by giving greater insight into positions and or performance. Because sometimes they said that it's like you are actually mining information to help management. And the only option is to do calculations and tweak things to make sure that they are relevant to help with management decision. The research data. In any competitive data analysis, students collect might be helpful. So assuming you receive the case well advanced within the 2 weeks and you are able to identify which sector or which niche area the question is trying to focus, it will be good for you to do a bit of research to update and collect enough data. It might not come in the exams room, but also to facilitate your future endeavors, including even attending interviews and other things. And then working on the appendices is very critical. And then major errors by students. Sometimes because we are wired as finance, in quote here, not all of it, but majority, we tend to plunge into numbers from the air. We just calculate whatever ratio we calculate and we leave it there. When you are in a business school, you are not there with your CEO. Your CEO might be very weak in financial management or costing or whatever it is. So it is left with you to make sure that whatever figures you are given, you write and attempt to demystify those figures into a plain language so that the captains of your industry or the business or the CEO will be able to relate with. Large numbers rounding. Sometimes it's very amazing where the student is given the opportunity and you find a student, assuming they've been given the figures in thousands or in millions, and you find a script where a student is writing all the millions, and that immediately tells the examiner and the markers that your actually judgment is very poor, because you could have organized the information by putting on top that all these figures are showing in thousands or in millions or in quadrillions or whatever it is, and that will save you a lot of time rather than spending and writing all those number of zeros. And there's also sometimes not testing the assumptions that you provide. You just say, well, let's go and make or buy decision. Let's buy. Then you leave it there. Why are you saying we should buy? You might have the reason that you leave the exams room with. But when the marker is going or the examiners are reviewing, they will not know those things. So remember and put them into perspective. And then failing to show workings is very critical. And the last but not the least here is layout and presentation. Then I come to 7, which I call it the practical issues. Business awareness should be evident by students. Real-world examples should be provided as already indicated earlier, where appropriate. A realistic approach should be taken to solve solutions of problems. And in doing that, general knowledge of the business. In fact, when you read script, you should be able to know that the student lacks that knowledge. Practical examples that are relevant and relate directly to the case. That tells you that the student has digested the case. And sometimes, like in the previous sittings and the rest, you can find that close to over 20% failed or they deviate in a particular question because of rote learning. They are not applying, and that's the result is that the practical substance that will make you to gain the mark is not there, and unfortunately, the examiners are not able to help under that circumstance. Weaknesses and limitations, argument of cost, and I'm giving you just as an example here. Argument of cost leadership and differentiations are not compatible. Yet in the real world, we know that you find a business person, when you ask them, they said, I'm doing my cost leadership, and at the same time, I want to differentiate. We know that this is not practical and is not possible. So organizations have no choice but to choose one. And any one that they choose, it comes with its cost. But the student miss out on most of those things. So these are areas that you should be critical and beware. That is limiting where most organizations simultaneously cannot pursue both strategies. And the student is pretending or presenting as if the organization can pursue both strategies and achieve the result, which is not possible. Student structuring argument, which is my 8th point. This is where students need to work to appraise possible feasible courses of action available or evaluate and then choose specific proposal. Please here, I'm saying specific proposal. Please, whatever scheme you might notice that we put on the website of the institute, they are so suggested, but we make sure that we count it to the extent that it meets the minimum requirement. And therefore, you cannot provide any solution where you say one fit all. So bear that in mind. There might also be instances where students might be required to identify and evaluate priorities relating to a proposal. So when that one comes up, structuring an argument becomes critical. This should cover setting the scene and evaluation. Conclusions and recommendations are very, very critical. Creating a storyline in quotes, and I've already said it, a storyline. Because if you look at most of the case studies that you received as a pre-scene material, they are actually helping you, the student, to mind mapping of the case well ahead, because in the exams you'll be issued with a fresh case, so that immediately you get it in your mind map, you'll be able to identify where your points are, organize them so that you are back into as if you have not taken yourself out of into the business world and bring yourself back to the exam room, ready to provide the solution to the examiners. And then conclusion, need to think of the balance of the argument you are making, and make sure that you have enough reservations, even if possible, so that you alert whoever is marking the script or the examiners that really you appreciate that this is a very complex world and other things might be possible. And then out of that one, then you zero into one or two and come out with your final recommendation. Presentation or presenting your answers. Prepare and present information in a format suitable for presentation to senior management. And here, I cannot say but to emphasize to senior management, because you are part of the senior management. You might be part of other colleagues from different technical background. So you are the team leader of the finance where you are presenting information. So packaging the information to meet the other members, senior management members' expectation is very critical. So here I'm looking at the issues around communication document examples may cover the following areas so that you are clear with the title of what you are saying, to and then from who, by what, and then what dates, among other things. And then you create a content of what you are presenting, because busy managers might not have the time to read all your documents, but the content can let them, well, if I'm an IT director sitting on that meeting, I go and look at where the IT issues are, and I review and leave the rest for marketing or for probably other colleagues to also look at. And please, 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 executive summary is very, very critical, which actually tells the whole story as per it. Then you come with your terms of reference, and in doing so, a selection of each topic or issues, conclusions, recommendations, appendices as appropriate. And then students might also bear in mind that what is being communicated, either is it a report, is it a memorandum, is it a letter, or is it a presentation, or is it a briefing note to the CEO? Because this is where you tend to struggle a lot. And most of the requirements make it clear that write a report, a memo, or or a letter or a presentation to senior management or a brief note to another colleague. So bear that in mind. And the next one is the layout. Nobody is encouraged to read further long pages of essay-style answers. So bear in mind, like issues of Persley, we know you've already chewed it, you are ready to pour it. It comes into the examination, then it becomes the issue of the Agama lizard scenario. You pour everything, and in doing so, you are eating into other time. So time management, before you realize, you spend 1.5 hours just answering that actually question, because nobody is amused and nobody is interested in those long essays type. Go straight to the point, because you have 3 hours, which is 180 minutes plus the time for you to read, to deal with the issues, and it must be used appropriately. Style of language. Excellent and appropriate communication in good business style. That message clear and effective. Whatever message you are presenting, even if you are not there, there must be a force behind that message. Use of unnecessary and unexplained abbreviations. Sometimes people, when you read the script, you can find a lot of abbreviations, and that becomes a challenge because it doesn't meet the minimal requirement of a business communication standard. Then the last but not the least is to review. Make time, you create some space, at least to review whatever you've actually written there. Some might be actually checking on, which I'm sure my colleague coming on shortly will be able to also highlight some of these issues. The final task in the examination is a quick review of your answers, ensuring that it is clear and logical. And when that is done, I can assure you that you will definitely pass and pass well. Thank you, and back to Alasan.
Thank you very much, Joseph, for that wonderful exposition. I think you made a number of key points that are well noted. First, he mentioned the fact that some students decide to miss on the assessment metrics. It is important that I take note of the assessment metrics. He also talked about the analysis of the exhibits or appendices. He mentioned time management is very necessary. And then requirements and issues. Applying the knowledge you have from other areas, practical issues, and then student structuring arguments, and then how to present your answers. So we'll come back to you. I think there are some questions that people have started raising. We'll come back to you later. But let me quickly remind all of us that this is the virtual outreach of strategic case study and then corporate reporting. This program also has a full approval and support of the Council of the Institute. And for this reason, we have some key council members among us. For instance, we have the chairperson of the examinations committee, who is also a member of the council, Mrs. Agnes Otu. She will join us soon. We have Madam Sena Dake, the vice president of the institute, and also one of our chief examiners. And then Professor William Atulik, the president of the institute. He is also on standby. They'll be addressing us as and when it is appropriate. We also have a former council member and then former dean of the UCC School of Business, Professor Edward Mafuyadam. All of them are on show and they'll be talking to us. Now, once we have taken some introductory comments on strategic case study, I want us to go to corporate reporting also, where we will have some comments or some techniques or tips on corporate reporting, after which we will come back to strategic case study. So if our professor is around, Prof. William, please, I want to welcome you, and then the show is yours now. Please take over. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Traore. I hope I can be heard.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you very much. I want to welcome all our students who are on this platform right now, and to associate with what has been said already by our technical director. The Institute really desires that all students who register to take the exams pass the exams and do well in their practice, in their careers. So I just want to emphasize what has already been said, that please, there is no reason why you will register an exam and then there is a quota to determine those who should pass and those who should not pass. It's a myth. It can never be. And so all of you should just take that one out of your mind and know that there is an interest to get people who demonstrate understanding of the issues to pass. So if you do not demonstrate that you have understood the issues, there is no way you will pass. And there is very fair processes. The processes are very fair and equitable. Not a single person can manipulate the system. And so once you have that in mind, you go into the exams very well prepared, and you will pass. For those of our friends who have been writing a number of times, I just tell you that you have either not got the knowledge sufficiently, or your strategy, the approach with which you do the exams, hasn't been that of the best. So rather than complaining and thinking that the fault is from the institute, just humble yourself and go back and re-strategize and get sufficient knowledge and get your strategy properly and acquaint yourself with what the examiner requires, and then take the exams, and then you will go through. So with those initial introductory marks, I want to address the specific issues of corporate reporting. And I'm very glad that my friend Joseph, all the issues that he raised are very relevant to the corporate reporting as well. Okay, but let me be very specific. Over the past sessions, it is quite clear that the reason why failure rate is very high and pass rate in the corporate reporting is very low are a number of things. One, candidates don't get to cover the entire syllabus. It is very clear that candidates enter into the exam half prepared. They don't attempt all the 5 questions. In the majority of students attempt about 2-3 questions. There is no way you can pass the exams when you attempt 2 questions or 3 questions, because it is unlikely that you will score the maximum points for each of those 2. So the first advice to all candidates is that make sure that you attempt all the questions. That way you will garner some marks, bits and pieces from across the subjects. In fact, it's observed that candidates that do extremely well in 1 or 2 questions, but extremely poorly in the remaining questions, fail. But candidates that perform averagely in all the 5 subjects, they are the ones who tend to pass. So my first advice to all candidates is that make sure that you have a fair coverage of the syllabus before you start, you sit the exams. And there is no magic. You cannot pass the paper when you go in half prepared. Number 2, specifically on international financial reporting standards and consolidated financial statements. These 2 combined takes 55% of the marks in the exams. And these are the 2 main subjects or topics that students are very grossly ill prepared when they see the exams. First, with respect to consolidated financial statement, candidates over the past 2 years, that's the past 4 sessions, have demonstrated very clearly that they don't understand the concepts, they are unable to apply the concepts, and therefore they perform woefully and miserably in this particular paper. My recommendation is that please prepare adequately and sufficiently on consolidated financial statements. But one thing that is very good for this paper is that it's a very well structured paper. We know that when you go into the exams, you will answer, whether you like it or not, you will answer a question on consolidated financial statements for between 20 to 25 marks. Although the syllabus say 25, sometimes in the exams we make it 20 marks. Other times it's 25 marks. So at least you know that whether you like it or not, between 20 to 25 marks will be a question on consolidated financial statement. It is also true that the issues in consolidated financial statement are very, very broad and wide. Okay, and so students, just master a few of the areas, and when there is a little twist, when there is a disposal, or when there is a foreign subsidiary, or when there are piecemeal acquisitions, or when the other issues that make consolidation complex, when they throw in one or two of them, then the students are completely thrown away, and they perform very miserably. Another recommendation is that, please, even when there are one or two of these complex issues, consolidation is still consolidation, and the basic principles of consolidation, you can still apply them and obtain some reasonable marks. It's observed that when candidates are thrown off by one or two technical issues in consolidation that they do not understand, they just lose hope, they give up, and then they are unable to do anything at all, and then they score very miserably. So please, consolidated financial statement is an area which is one of the Waterloo for students, and my recommendation is that prepare adequately. You know that if you can do your cash flow, your consolidated cash flow, your consolidated foreign subsidiaries, and then you can do a disposal, partial or whole, that's, and mixed groups and those, and then you have covered. Able to do the consolidated income statement, the consolidated balance sheet, and the consolidated cash flow before you enter the exam, then you know that at least you have a very fair coverage. Out of the 20-25 marks, you can score an average of a half. So please make sure that you prepare well on your consolidation. The second issue has to do with the IFRS. In fact, it's the worst area that causes the failure for many a candidate. That alone covers about 30 marks of the weight, 30 marks. And it is the area that students have demonstrated they are most uninformed. A number of times you find students answering IFRS questions just theoretically. Like my colleague mentioned in the case study, often we give a scenario. The IFRS often gives a scenario with figures and numbers. And what it is expected of students is to apply the scenario, the figures given, and to answer the question the examiner asked. Most times you notice that candidates just completely ignore the requirement of the question. The examiner says detail out, or demonstrate, or explain, and you find that students just do some calculations. Then they leave it there. They just do some calculations, and without showing, without actually responding to the specific requirements of the examiner. Please watch the operating words in the question. If the examiner says show an extract of an income statement, he means you should show an extract of an income statement. If the examiner says show the accounting treatment, he means you should show the accounting treatment, to which the recognition criteria, the measurement basis, and the disclosure and presentation. But these are the things that students fail to do. Mostly, students go into the exams on the IFRS on a theoretical basis, just providing a theoretical response. If a question on, say, IAS 38, intangible asset, is asked, students just go straight, pouring down their knowledge about IAS 38 without regard to what the examiner has asked. And sometimes also without regard to the numbers and the specific scenario that has been painted in the question. So my recommendation to all candidates is that please answer the examiner's question. Pay attention to what the requirement of the IFRS question is. Is it explain? Is it show an extract? Is it detail out? Is it compute? Answer the examiner. Don't set your own question and begin to answer. Now, again, we realize that the IFRS are many, of course, and for you to be a good practitioner, you must have a very good grasp of all the IFRS. We do realize that students go into the exams just solve using questions that they have solved. They don't understand the principles. IFRS are principle based. If you spend time and invest time to understand the principles, and you understand the logic in the principles, and then you are conscious about the fact that you are applying the principles to resolve specific requirements, you will always do well in the IFRS. So, and there are two main categories of the IFRS. You should never go into the ICA corporate reporting paper if you don't appreciate them. The non-current asset standards, which include IAS 16 property, plant, equipment, IAS 38 intangible assets, IAS 40 investment property, and their impairment, IAS 36, including issues related to grants and borrowing costs. These are very clear standards that are very, very repetitive in the exams. Then the financial instrument standards, IFRS 9, IAS 32, and issues like share-based payment. These are very regular. So when you go back to the past question, you notice that these are the same things that keep recurring. Of course, there are other IFRS, and occasionally the examiner will venture into them. So you should learn all the IFRS, but I don't appreciate why candidates will enter the exams without a good appreciation of the non-current asset standards and the financial instrument, standard, and other topical issues that have recently emerged and that people are discussing. So please have a very good coverage of the IFRS. Beyond that one, make sure that you learn how to apply, answer the examiner's question. Don't go and set your own question and answer. Having said that, there are some general issues which I will just, as for the other remaining issues on financial analysis, valuation and capital reduction, and then ethics, these candidates have done quite some good work in them, but still, some candidates do not appear to know how to respond to examiner's question. So in all those areas, the ethics, the valuation or capital reduction, or the analysis, please pay attention to the examiner's requirement and answer the examiner strictly by his requirement. Having said that, general issues that we have found in the corporate reporting: bad strategy in the use of time. Students, they give more time to things that does not give them more marks, and less time to things that should give them more marks. So please strategize your time. And then student, you can see they attempt questions very in a very wrong order. You see some candidates spend a lot of time on the consolidation earlier and still do poorly, and they have very little time to attempt the other questions, and therefore they will fail miserably. So attempt easier issues first before you come to attempt the most difficult issues. The order in which you attempt the questions is very, very important. And so manage your time, properly. A basic thing that I cannot understand for the rest of my life: why professional people who are almost at the point of being admitted into membership of ICA will still write the wrong question number. He is answering question 2, but he has written on the top of the question 1. I can't appreciate that. Please note that the paper is marked by different people. One person is dedicated to question 1, another person to question 2, another person to question 3, and so on and so forth. So if you write question 1, the one who is marking question 1 looks at it and it doesn't relate to the question 1. He will not score it. And the person who is marking question 2 will search and search, and he will not find question 2. And so if you are not lucky, things like this go unremedied. And who caused it? You, the candidate. So please make sure that you number your questions appropriately. This is not just 1 or 2. It's very, very, very frequent. You find it a lot, and poor handwriting. Please, particularly when you are writing the ethics and the analysis, people must read your work. If your work cannot be read, nobody will grade it. So make sure that your handwriting is very legible for the examiner, to see. And the biggest issue, which I have already addressed, is a lack of knowledge. You can always see very clearly that the candidates don't have knowledge in what they are doing, particularly with the consolidation and the IFRS question. And even in the analysis question, you will see that the candidates do very poor analysis. Analysis is not commentary. Analysis is not just running a descriptive commentary. The profit margin is 20% and the gross profit margin is 5%. And in the following year, it increased. And that's very, very, basic. Don't do description. Do analysis. Analysis is to compare, contrast, bring out the implications, and make recommendations as to what should be done. So let your analysis be practical. Bring out what the real issues are and what needs to be done and what the implications are from the analysis. That's what is needed, and not a description of the numbers that you have computed. So it's very, very important that once you do this, you will be fine. So I will end here, and if there are issues, I will come back. With the greatest respect to my seniors on the panel, I will have to sign out. I have to seek permission from a meeting to join. I thought that meeting would have been over. I have overstayed the time I asked for, and if there are any questions, I will want to respond to and then sign out. I'm happy my vice president is on. So where the president has to make some remarks, the vice president will make those remarks. So thank you very much for your attention. And if there are some questions, I would like to take them very quickly and then I'll sign out.
All right. Thank you very much, Prof. I think there are one or two questions for you. So you said some standards. So Stephen Ledu wants to know, what are the specific standards in corporate reporting?
No,
and
so
which standards are not examinable?
All the standards. Now, once you are at the final level, all the IFRS are examinable, all of them. From IAS 1 to 41 and from IFRS 1 to IFRS 17. They are all examinable. Okay? But when you look at the questions, you will know that there are, and in practice, there are some key issues that are very dominant. Okay, so I would advise all candidates to prepare across all the standards. There is not a single standard that is not examinable.
Okay, thank you. And then, so one is a comment on the issue of mixing numbers. This corporate reporting pressure and tension makes us mix the numbers. So
well, when you do that, you pay the consequences. When you are under pressure and you cross the traffic light and the policeman is standing there, he will arrest you and you will pay the consequences regardless of the pressure. So candidates should be on caution that they should manage the pressure. It's part of the world. the amount of pressure that you have to manage as a chartered accountant, having to multitask and do a lot of things at the same time and not make a mistake. It's so enormous. And that is the time you must demonstrate that when we let you out, you are able to manage the pressure of work.
Yeah. All right, Prof. So we will note other questions which may come in down, and then if the vice president or the exam committee chairperson can respond, we will let them do. So for now, you are discharged.
Thank you very much. I want to thank you. I'm happy that this event is on, and I want to encourage all students to take full advantage of this and not mess up. So thank you very much. And my colleagues on the platform, my colleague council members, thank you very much for being on. And with the greatest respect, I want to sign out. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof, for the time you had for us. So Prof, that's our president. He just went away. We are reminded that exam registration is still ongoing. The deadline is 16th April. So please, if you are yet to register, kindly try and then register as soon as possible. I mentioned earlier on that we also have the vice president of the institute, Mrs. Senada Kanape, she's with us, and also the chairperson of the examinations committee, Mrs. Agnes Otu. I don't know if Madam Agnes wants to say a word or two before we continue with our presentation on strategic case study. Madam Agnes, do you want to come in briefly before we go?
If you're asking me, I'll say I don't have anything to say. The only thing I'll just add, and I think a lot of that has already been said, that we're making great efforts to improve and increase the number of passes across our examinations. And of course, corporate reporting is one of the areas that we are greatly concerned about. So without much ado, I just want to say this is positive for you, and take advantage of it, and then do the best in the examinations. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Agnes. We'll come back to you later. So this is definitely an opportunity for all of us to take advantage of our students and then make the most of it. So we are going back to our strategic case study experts. I don't know if we have Prof around, our professor for strategic case study, Prof Murphy Adam. I don't know if you're around. If Prof is there, together with Dr. George, they want to take us on a strategic case study. Prof. Edward, and then Dr. George.
Hello?
Yes, Doc.
Hello, thank you. Thank you, Alasan, for having me. Good afternoon to you, and good afternoon to council members and cherished students on this platform. I think this program is very useful. We want to commend the ICA for organizing it. Over the years, this has been quite timely for our students. And it's important that students take this seminar or outreach very important. Many of the people on this platform have so much experience on IC examinations over the years. And so we bring to the fore issues that students must take note of. I'll start off with strategic case study and provide some one or two tidbits also on corporate reporting. This is my experience in handling corporate reporting. We thank Prof. Tulik also for the comment on the corporate reporting strategies. Let me begin with the syllabus. It is important for our students to understand
Reverend,
that.
Reverend, I think your audio,
hello?
we're having, the audio is not very good. I don't know if you need to reposition yourself. We are having break in.
Oh, you can't hear me.
Audio. Okay, I think it's better now. Please. Yeah, it's
is
better
it better
now? Yes, it is.
Okay.
Please go on.
So yes, so let me start with corporate strategic case study. Students must understand that the strategic case study paper is a capstone paper. It's number 3.4, and it's for very good reasons. In addition, the other papers that are also level 3 papers are all final papers. And what that means is that students must have gone through level 1 and level 2 before attempting to write the final papers. Due to the exigence of our time, we have revised our policy on passing these papers at the go. And so students can, even if they don't do well in one paper, they can come back and write. Earlier on, you needed to pass all the 4 papers as a go, and when you fail, you have to write all the 4 papers. Over the years, we've revised that. Now, the implication of that is you need to have gone through level 1, level 2, and prepared yourself very well. The observation over the years is that due to the exemption policy of the institute, we are seeing students who are coming in to write
strategic case study who do not have the foundation for the strategic case study paper. Because the strategic case study paper is intended for students to demonstrate their understanding and apply tools, implementation, and evaluation. We've observed that students do not have the competence in using management information to be able to provide strategic choice, implementation, and evaluation that would provide some benefits to the entity in question. Now, if you go through the learning outcomes of the strategic case study paper, and let me quickly run through that. It talks about students' ability to evaluate strategic objectives for a specified scenario, prepare and advise on a strategic analysis for a specified scenario by evaluating the external and internal environment, support strategic development, apply key strategic models, and prepare advice on for a specific scenario or strategic choice, discuss and evaluate the types of organizational structure and operational vehicles that can be used to support for a specified scenario, explain and analyze the arrangement required, and prepare business plans for a specified scenario for an efficient and effective
Reverend,
implementation.
the audio, we are still having challenges with the audio, Reverend. I don't know why.
Wow.
There are
I don't know.
breakages in the sound. I don't know.
I don't know whether it's
Is it
coming
the
from my end
position?
or
Yes, I think our
is it better
students are
now?
also complaining. Yes, it's better, but once you start talking, then the breakages start. I don't know why.
Wow. Wow. That's strange. Is it better now?
Yes, it is.
Maybe I have to connect with my tablets and see. I don't know whether it's coming from my PC. Is it better?
It is. Please go on. If it comes back, I'll let you.
Yeah, just alert me. Then maybe I'll just swap. Okay. So if you look at these objectives, they are high level objectives, and that is what we expect of students who are writing the strategic case study paper. The moment you are preparing yourself for the case study paper, you must understand that you are preparing yourself for a high level paper, a capstone paper, a paper that encapsulates all that you have learned in the various subjects, the level 1, the level 2, and even in some of the papers in level 3. What we've observed over the years is that because of the exemption policy, you find students who do not have the background in level 1 and 2, and yet when they attend the strategic case study paper, they want to provide answers for which you don't see any link between the answers they are providing and the what is expected of them at that level. So let me just add a few to what my colleagues have said in terms of preparation for the strategic case study paper. Now, the key thing about that paper is that students should be able to analyze, make a choice, implement, and evaluate. So as you go into the paper, you should be able to do analysis. So therefore, I will break the work or the study into 4 aspects: analysis, choice, implementation, and evaluation. Analysis, choice, implementation, and evaluation. So when you take analysis, you should be able to analyze the case, whether it is the pre-scene or the scene. Analyze it, looking at the context of the entity in question. And then you should be able to make a strategic choice What choice should the entity make? What should they implement? What should they choose? So you have to make a decision on that. And that would depend on your understanding of the various strategic choices that are available. And then the third aspect is, how do they now implement it? How should they implement the choice that you have provided? How should they approach it? So if you are able to do that, then you can then tell us whether the choice that has been implemented would actually give the entity a competitive advantage. And that is what we call evaluation. So let me go over what I said. We're looking at strategy, analysis, choice, implementation, and evaluation. Alasan, can you hear me? Is it clear?
It's not,
Hello?
but I guess it's not, but I guess we may have to manage like that. It's not that clear. But
Wow, too bad. Well, because if it's
when
not,
I'm talking to you, it's better. Immediately you start
if it's not,
talking,
then
then
let me use it. Maybe any other colleague on the panel can come in. So like
yes, yeah, so
because
that
students must
once you
benefit from what we are
reposition
sharing.
yourself.
Can't just be sharing and they can't follow us to come in. Then I would come back.
That's true. That's very true. All right, so thank you very much, Doc. So we'll get back to you. So this is still the virtual outreach, and this is strategic case study, and then corporate reporting. Like I said, this program has the full backing and support of the Council of the Institute and the management of the Institute. Registration is currently ongoing. Now, I'm told that the UPSC Center, registration to write at the UPSC Center will be closed today. So those who prefer to write at UPSC, please, you are reminded to do your registration. You can pay on or before the 16th. But if you want to register and then choose a UPSC center, make sure you register today, because by close of day, that center will be taken off the list. That is by way of information to those of us on the platform today. So we'll continue with our presentation on strategic case study. We still have one of our experts, Mr. Julius. So he's going to take over whilst we try to resolve the technical challenges with Dr. George's line. So if Mr. Julius is around, please take over and then give us some or share some points with us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Alasan. Can I be heard, please?
Yes, please. We can hear you.
Okay. So thank you once again. And then thanks to my colleagues who have come earlier on, Joseph, Prof, and then Dr. George. And just to add, much has been said, I want to just add a few things to it. The first thing I want to remind our students is the fact that one trend is emerging in examinations. Case study consists of two major segments: strategy and financial management. But from the past exams, it's becoming clear that a lot of students are just avoiding financial management. And if you look at the last examination, for instance, the questions that came on operating gearing and financial gearing were very simple and straight to the point. But yet, about 90% or over 90% of our students will just not attempt questions at all in financial management. But clearly, if you look at the course, it is obvious that a student stands higher chance of passing case study by answering financial management well, because strategy is a bit difficult for most students because of the fact that it's quite analytical, it involves a lot of critical thinking. And most of our students are not actually applying themselves well. So I want to just remind all our students that financial management is part and parcel of case study. The topics such as lease or buy, capital structure like gearing, investment appraisal, and all of those topics are in there. And so I will urge all our students to attempt to also learn well in the financial management part. But let me also make a point on the fact that it is clear from examination that most of our students are applying knowledge to the case study facts generally. And I want to use a practical example. In the last examination, a question came where students were asked to use PESTEL and then determine or assess whether the company in question can honor its financial obligation. But you get students talking about PESTEL, legal, political, and other factors generally. There is no way a student can pass examination when he speaks to things in general terms. In general terms, we need to be specific, because in real world, you are expected to apply knowledge you've acquired through your professional studies to a problem, a specific problem. So it cannot just be general. For instance, if you look at COVID that has happened, COVID-19, you notice that some industries have suffered negatively, whilst others have suffered positively. So you cannot just discuss COVID-19 as applying in equal measure or degree to all industries in the economy. So we expect that our students should be specific. They should apply the concepts, the knowledge they've acquired right from level 1, level 2 to level 3 in addressing specific issues that examiner has actually raised in the question. That's the only way you can actually pass examination. That's the next thing I want to talk about. The third thing I want to quickly mention is where students mix up models. Case study is full of models like Ansoff metrics, like BCG. There are a lot of models in case study, but sometimes you see situation whereby a student is just deviated totally. You have been asked probably to apply Ansoff growth metrics, and the student will go and apply BCG. In that case, as I normally tell students, you are heading towards our domain. There's no way you can actually go through, because you have just deviated totally. And so I'll urge our students to pay particular attention to understanding the models that that examiner is actually asking us to look at. Let me just add one more, and then I'll bring my because most of my colleagues have said a lot of things. Let me just add one more, and then I'll bring my conversation to an end. The last thing I want to add is the fact that if you look at case study, as Dr. said, is well structured, right? In terms of the content, we have analysis, we have formulation or choices, we have implementation, and then we have financial management. So the whole course is structured into 4 major departments or segments. Unfortunately for us, unlike corporate reporting or financial reporting, where question 1 may be consolidation, question 2 may be business evaluation, we don't have that same structure with case study. So case study cannot be predictable. And that is where, if you are asked a question, your ability to determine exactly where the question is situated will actually assist students to answer the question. So I would like to urge our students that in studying, they need to understand the topics that are in each department, although this department or stages of the courses or the course are not separate, they are interlinked. But understanding where the question is flowing from will assist the student to zero down or limit the space or the section from where you go to get the tools required to answer the question. I think I would like to pause here, and then as questions come, we can respond further to it. Thank you so much, Mr. Larson. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Julius, for that exposition. I don't know if George is back, Dr. George Taki. If you are back, I don't know. If you are back, then you can continue from where you left off. All right, I guess it's not back yet. So as and when he comes, we'll okay.
Oh.
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Yeah, is it clear now? I'm trying to reconnect with a different garden, but I don't know whether it's clear.
Yes, I think this is clear. I pray it doesn't break when you start.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you, Julius, also for coming through. Let me take a
I think it's even worse now. I think this is even worse. So we'll try and then see if Mr. Asai, please, are you around? Whilst we try to resolve
Okay,
Dr.
I'm around.
Yes. So do you have any information you want to share with us on the strategic case study? Whilst we try to reconnect.
Let me come in here whilst we help Dr. Jotaki to get a better device to connect, so we can all hear him very clearly. Certainly, he has something good for us, and he did everything possible to ensure that we get what he has. But whilst waiting for him, let's look at this when it comes to the strategic case study. Students, I'm sure you all have your syllabus. The syllabus is also a learning material, because that is where you get all the stuff necessary for your examination. And in my introduction, I made a point here that we have invested in coming out with a world-class syllabus, and that is rightly so. Because I can tell you that all the questions that can be asked in the case study can be found in your syllabus. If you have looked at it very critically, you appreciate what I'm telling you. And so I hold it in my hands here, the syllabus that has been structured into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different strategic topics. And if you look at your syllabus, it starts with a question. Like the A, evaluate strategic objectives for a specified scenario. That is a requirement that you'll be assessed on. And it goes to ask a question, define the purpose of organizational strategy and explain the difference between the various levels. That is a question that can be asked. So as a student preparing for examination, you should be able to answer that question. Only that you have to apply to a specific case. The other question is asked. Analyze the key factors and drivers that influence strategic objectives. You can see clearly that this is a question that can be asked. And the syllabus is telling you that this is what you should be looking at. Indeed, when the syllabus was being developed, the developers made it very clear that the syllabus itself helps you to know the requirement of the examiner, what he requires from you, the questions that are likely to be asked in the examination. You're right there in the syllabus. And so if in your preparations, you go through the questions that have been asked in the syllabus, and you are very certain that you can answer all the questions, then why can't you pass? You would definitely pass if you go through all the questions and you are able to answer them with all the models. Then you are well prepared for the examination. Let me give you another example using the same syllabus, if you have yours with you. Now, let's come to the D, for instance, where it talks about the D is about the organizational structure. There is that discuss and evaluate the types of organizational structure and operational vehicles that can be used to support for a specified scenario the delivery of organizational strategy. And so it's clear that for each of the questions, it is to be applied to a specified scenario. And so no matter what the case may be, this same question can be asked. You can ask this question for a scenario that is based on a hospital environment or aerospace environment. This same question can be asked in a specified scenario. So don't go anywhere outside what you have been given. And that's one thing that we also observe with our candidates, that they just look at the previous questions that have been administered, they go through them, and they also look at other questions. It's not bad. But as has been stressed over and over again, you need to understand the principles. Principles don't change. Laws change. That you can apply principles in different scenarios. That is why the principles are very, very important. Try to understand why is it coming and how the questions, and try to answer them in your mind as you prepare for the examination. Because it is scenario based, a case based. And so if you are preparing and you don't have any case in mind, then you're only preparing to fail. And nobody prepares to fail, but prepares to pass. And so all that I want to tell you, in addition to what has been said, is that don't throw your syllabus away as if they don't matter. Your syllabus matter. Go through them, understand it, look at the requirements, and I can assure you that the questions will not come from us. It will come right from your syllabus. Alasan, you can take it over.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Prof. Marvel, please, do you want to?
Yeah, hello. Alasa, can
yes,
you hear me?
Yes, we
you
can hear you, sir.
Me. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you all.
Good afternoon, sir.
A lot has been said, and I thought at this stage we should rather open up to receive some questions from students so that we can respond. We've done enough talking. Can the students also be allowed to ask one or two questions so that we provide responses?
Yes, they have asked a number of questions, so I'll start taking them one after the other.
Okay, but let me just then make a general remark and then we can take the questions. First of all, the strategic case study is the capstone paper. It is not a foundation paper. Remember that the levels are 3 in the professional exam. Level 3 is the application, where people would have been prepared to go and now provide solutions to business problems. And so it requires preparation, thorough preparation for that matter. And the syllabus has been prepared in a detailed manner. There is a study material that is also detailed. My advice to the candidates is that they should go through the manual. They should study from a recognized partners in learning or teaching provider. And then they should do a lot of practice. I've sent slides that are prepared for this seminar to the Director, Technical and Research. In that one, I have shared a website that students can go. Fred David and the others prepared that website. And there are a lot of support that will let students understand what a case study is to be able to comment. So preparation is what we need. It's not just the theory questions that you can just do guesswork. This one, you must work yourself out. But thank you. If there are specific questions, we can bring them up, then maybe we can contribute. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof, for coming in. So before we go into the questions, I think we have our Vice President also with us, Mrs. Senada Kanape. She wants to make a quick remark before we go into our questions. Madam, please, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. And congratulations in advance to all our students. In addition to all that has been said, I think one thing that you must take note of is our emotional preparedness. Whilst you are preparing with the theoretical and practicing your questions several times to become used to it, please get an emotional balancing equation in your mind. I always create a suspense account for the troubles, anxieties, and the things that can distract you from concentrating, because the ICA exams is very thorough. So any distraction can cause you to move your mind out of focus. And so I'm encouraging all our students for this guide, try and create that suspense account or even a dustbin. If you see a trouble or anxiety coming your way, just put it in and say, after the exams, I'll address it. Then fill your mind with a lot of positivity and confidence, because at the exam, it is you and the paper. So all encouragements that we have to give or people have to give you would end when you and the paper are together. So the only one thing that you can sail through when that time comes is your own confidence and self-motivation. And the fact that you keep telling yourself, I can make it, I can make it. And when you have that kind of spirit building up over and over again, I'm very, very sure when you go, you'll be able to make a difference. I want to thank you all and thank the organizers for this opportunity to interact with you all. God bless you and good luck.
God bless you too, Madam Vice President. So we will now go on to our question and answer session. We are taking the question from Patrick Brempo from Facebook. It says, on the use of abbreviations, can you create an abbreviation table or write in full the meaning of abbreviation and later use the abbreviations instead of rewriting them throughout? So I think this is for Joseph on your presentation on how they should avoid using abbreviations. He wants to know whether you can use abbreviations, but you create an abbreviation table or write the meaning in full first and then later on use the abbreviation throughout. Mr. Joseph, please, are you around?
Yes, I am. I think
so
the person
he wants to find out if we can't hear you, sir. Please come again.
Oh, okay. I was just saying that what you said the last is the correct one. If you want to use something like, let's say, economic order quantity, first you write the full thing, then into bracket, then subsequently you can use the abbreviation.
All right. Abbas also wants to ask, also from Facebook, can the use of jargon be avoided and make simple and clear questions meaningful? Sometimes the feeling is like presenting a language just to confuse students. Prof. Maf, I don't know if you have a response to this. He says we set questions just to confuse students.
Well, thank you. I mean, this is a standard examination, so nobody uses jargons that are not familiar. And so, like Director for Technical and Research was explaining a while ago, the syllabus itself uses those verbs that are used in the examination. So if you look at the syllabus, the detailed specification, give terminology, evaluate, analyze, those are the same terms that are used in the question. And the question goes through a process of moderation. So no examiner at this stage test question. The philosophy of understanding the question is part of the examination is not applicable here. Questions are moderated and then they are made very clear for the students to know the requirements. And that is why even the specific points are all stated as part of the question. So we have come a long way, and we are no longer saying that understanding of the question is part of the exam. Questions are now clear, and candidates are just to produce what they have studied. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Can I just add a comment quickly?
Please go on.
Okay. So obviously, I mean, case study is not English language. It's a course that is quite technical. And so we need to approach it that way. And so So long as some students in examination hall are able to understand the question and apply themselves, it means that the question is clear. And as Professor Wanko said, these questions are well moderated. In fact, it goes through the hands of quite a number of examiners. And I don't want to believe that all those examiners will not catch any ambiguity or any challenge in the question. I think all boils down to the fact that most of our students simply do not take their time to read and understand the question. So we should not expect normal English in this course because the course has its own language. And when you understand the language, then you can easily answer the questions. Thank you very much.
So I think our technical director can help with this. There are two quick questions. Other technical director or exams manager. The first, why are you closing the UPSA center today? That's the first. And then the second one, why is the institute making students write a strategic case study paper when they have passed the corporate strategy, ethics and governance in level 2? So those are two questions. Technical director, what do you want to respond to?
With the first question, you know, we have seating capacity for all our examination centers, and candidates register with a particular center in mind. And as we speak now, UPSA center is almost full. That's why we are asking students, those who would like to write at that center, to do so, because when it gets to its capacity, that center is closed. So you can then go and write in other centers, not UPSA. That's what it is about it. Yes, and with the corporate strategy, ethics and governance, I think this matter has been dealt with before even the new syllabus was released. And we made it very clear that these are two different subjects. Yeah, two different subjects, my brother and sister. The case study that we are doing now cannot be compared to what we used to do in level 2. Remember, this is in level 3, and the requirements are different, far higher than what used to be the case. And so we are not equating the two subjects. It's like comparing mangoes with apples. They are not the same.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Asai. So before you go, there's a quick one also. McLean is saying, please tell us more about the aspect of the case study syllabus that says you may bring your answers from the pre-seen case to exams.
Oh, okay. You are talking about the old one. We have changed it. Actually. That was the original idea, but then we thought about it again, and we thought that no, we should rather start from somewhere. So currently, you're not allowed to bring in any foreign material, and that is the standard for all the subjects. So let's try this for some time and see whether we can consider the one that we wanted to introduce. But for now, no foreign material in examination. We have changed that. The new syllabus has been printed, and we don't have that in the new syllabus. Please.
All right, thank you. Emily wants to know where they can get the syllabus from. Is the syllabus available for students?
I think it is on the website. If my memory serves right, it was put on the website for a download. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the 2019-2024 syllabus. It's available on the Institute website. George wants to find out from Prof when they can get the slides that you talked about, Prof. Are the slides available for students now?
Let me answer. It's with the department, and so we'll upload it on the website for students to have access to it.
Okay, thank you. Prof. JAB wants to find out. Yes, sir, Prof.
Yes.
Someone wants to find out. This is looking at the high subjectivity of the case study subject. How do examiners appreciate the perspective of students if it's not captured in the marking scheme, but relevant to the case?
Well, a case study in the first place is something factual, something specific, something near reality. And its application in nature, because we are talking about everyday issues, practical issues in the corporate world. And the assumption is that we are putting this would-be chartered accountant in the seat of a manager, in the seat of a strategist. So answers are not global in nature. The answers should be near reality. So it's not any general and it's not English. That is why we are saying that to do the case study means that your foundation should be good. For example, many are learning just accounting, but this paper, strategy paper, has management, which is broad. Sometimes marketing, sometimes human resource issue, sometimes information technology, legal, so economics. So it's a broad subject that doesn't have a straight jacket answer. And so answers are not subjective, they are very precise and concise. For example, if we are testing students on financial ratios or ratio analysis, we know we have general ratios. But if you bring a case, for example, of an oil marketing company, the student first of all has to appreciate the industry of this organization, and that will be different, for example, from a manufacturing organization. So it's ratio analysis. But when you are applying ratios to a manufacturing firm, it will not be the same as you apply to an audio marketing company, or you apply to a bank or any financial institution. So it is the application, what we call transfer of knowledge. So not to just know ratios, but to know the relevant or applicability of the ratio to specific sectors. And that is where our students are found wanting. So the general principle is that a chartered accountant is a generalist, first and foremost. Before going forward, the chartered accountant may show interest in some specific areas of accountancy. But first is a generalist and must provide solutions to business problems. So the answers are specific, carefully thought out, and they are nowhere subjective in nature. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. So Patience Obin wants to find out, when a question says advise shareholders or directors, should it be in a memo form? Assuming the question says you should advise the shareholders or the directors, should your advice be in a memo form? Patience wants to find out.
Thank you very much. Unless otherwise specified, students are at liberty to use any form of reporting. If the question wants memo, sometimes there are questions that marks are given for the format. So they say write a memo, a memorandum, then that one want the memo format. But as was said by Joseph earlier in his presentation, there are different formats. Letters can be written, reports, short report, extended report. So unless the question is specific, any format will be acceptable. But when the question says using a memorandum, then that one wants you to be specific and use a memo format. But otherwise, they say write a report. You use your general business communication knowledge to you pick a format that you want to. So when they say advice, you just go ahead and advise.
Okay, thank you. So Mary Amponsa also, I don't know if Prof will take this or Mr. Osei. Kindly explain why we fail this paper. She simply doesn't understand. She wants to find why I don't know why she's using we, but she wants to find out why. Mr. Osei or Prof, Mary wants to find out why we should explain why they failed that paper, the strategic case study paper.
Okay. I was seeking clarity of the paper, but now you say strategic case study paper. First and foremost, remember that this paper, when we are talking about strategic management in the syllabus of the ICA, it started from level 2 when we had the 4-part exams. Later, when we have been changing it from level to level, it is the latest syllabus review that benchmarking against the global standard, we move that paper to the final part. And when moving the paper to the final part, we also graduated the syllabus. And we felt that when students have gone through the 10 papers or so in level 1 and level 2, coming to write this as the last paper at level 3 will be very easy. Our observation, as Reverend Dr. George Taki was presenting, he indicated that sometimes we are at a loss as to whether these students writing the case paper as a final paper in the professional exam are really the students who should write that paper. So first of all, the challenge of performance is with students' background. The characteristics of our students is the first thing that we need to look. The student is a full-time worker. He does not even ask for leave or doesn't take leave to prepare for the examination. So a day or so before the exam is when the student asks permission. If you don't prepare, that is why even in the case study, we give the scene, the one that we give the passage 2 weeks before the exam. That allows students to open up, search for information. But the reality is that students don't have time to learn. They want to pass, but they do not take time off to learn. And if you don't learn, I am not sure how you can pass. For example, even common topic like ratios, sometimes we are found wanting. It's problematic. So I think we encourage students to spend time to study. That's why we have tuition providers all over. And then that is why we also have the study material, both in soft and hard copies, soft and hard. And once students study the materials, they should not be found wanting. My second point is that this examination is not guesswork. And people in Ghana, excuse me, they now look for tips for examination. The case study is not an exam that you go with tips. We've said on this platform this afternoon that you need to familiarize yourself with the passage, the syllabus, and different types of industry. If we don't do that, I'm sorry, it will be difficult to solve business problems. So our sister should do her part by preparing well, coordinate with tuition providers. As examiners, we are also happy when candidates do well. Sometimes when we travel and even go and do this exercise, it becomes problematic because we are not encouraged by the performance of our students. So we are all there to support them, but they should also do their part, and then it will be well for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. So Joseph, someone with CR abbreviations like NCI, EPS, etc., are they allowed, or you still have to write in full before abbreviating? So on the issue of abbreviations, Zinabu wants to find out what are even in corporate reporting, abbreviations like NCI, non-controlling interest, and then EPS, earnings per share. Are you still allowed to write in full, or you have to abbreviate? Or are you supposed to write in full, or you can abbreviate?
What does it take if you write it in full, and subsequently you write? It's a very serious, like I highlighted in my presentation, that you are talking to the ultimate management to use the information to make a decision. And majority of them don't have a financial background. So you must that's why the paper is called case study, and it's a strategy. So you are inputting into a bigger whole to allow management to make an informed decision. And on that basis, people with wide background, marketing, some might even just be, depending on the organization that you are working with, they might not have any business this at all. So you cannot assume that it is common knowledge that EPS, any per share, it must be known by everybody. Do your part by put it in brackets. It will not take so much of your ink. Then subsequently, you can be using the abbreviation. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Peter wants to find out when the pre-scene material will come out. Mr. Osai or Madam Olivia, when is the pre-scene material coming out?
It is always 2 weeks before the examination starts. It's always been like that. So 2 weeks before examination, please.
That is 19th April. So all the other things being equal, 19th April, we should expect the pre-scene material. Okay. So it must appear asks, the business plan question that came in November died. Why did they not include the solution one and the one they posted on their website? The business plan question that came in the November died. Why did they not include the solution in the one they posted on the website? I don't know of the specific. I don't know if Prof, you remember that.
Yes.
Mr. Osai, yeah.
Let me come in here. Yes, that question has not have one answer. You see, like we are discussing about case study questions. There is no one solution to a business plan. All the answers are in the case itself, and they've given the specific headings that you must use to develop your business plan. They are all in the case, and so it's just pointing to the information given to you in the case. That's why we didn't provide a solution to that question.
Okay. Can I come in here, Alasan?
Yes, please do.
Just to add some few comments to it. I think our students should be rest assured that a marking scheme is a guide. So in reality, when it comes to marking, students should not think that what we have in marking scheme is the only thing we look out for. So student, that's why in this solution for business plan, it is not considered best to provide cast and stone solution in terms of the detailed information, but rather to provide the key headlines, which of course, if the case is properly read, everything required to draw up a good business plan is in the case study. So that's the reason why the marking scheme generally did not provide a detailed right, because this is the best approach for students to know the pointing or the pointers to what should go into a good business plan. It's just a guide. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for adding that. So, Sir Julius, someone also, is this last sitting strategic case study question on unsolved growth metrics? It was misleading. That's the requirement was not the same as the solution. But I don't know if the answer you've provided here will suffice for that as well.
Oh, I think I would not like to go into that because I think Prof has said that. The question was quite clear. So I'm sorry if a student thought that it was a bit misleading. It is not misleading. It's quite clear.
All right, that's fine. So someone says, when should we check the website for the syllabus? It's on the website at the moment. So when you go to the website, just go to student services. Under student services, once you click on student services, you can find student download. Okay, so when you click on student download, you find that we have the revised 2019-2024 syllabus there. So it's already on our website. Please try and then go through it. So Billy Tuition wants to find, in the case where 2 or more models can be used to answer the same question, what do we do? In the case where you have 2 or more models that can be used to answer the same question, what do we do? Please, any of you can take it.
Okay, let me just take it out. Yes, so long as the question can be answered using alternative model, then you have to use either of them, it is fine. For example, if you recall, the question came 2 seasons ago where a student was asked to use a model to make ethical decision making. And normally when it comes to such a question, there are 2 models, TACA 5 question model and then AAA model. And in the solution, those 2 models were provided. So long as student is sure that there are 2 alternatives to answer the question, in the marking scheme, those alternatives will be provided, and the student is free to pick either of them to answer the question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Mr. Asai, someone wants to find, Bala wants to find whether we can get this intervention for other courses like advanced tax and then advanced audit.
For now, that has not been planned. For now.
Okay. Please stay right there. Another Giliba Blake who wants to find why is there no option for students to write 1 or 2 papers in the final level, but all the 4 papers?
Yes, yet again, for now, that is the requirement. Until it changes, you write all the 4 subjects at a go. And when you pass one, you're accredited.
Okay, that's fine. And then this question has come again, the fact that the corporate strategy, ethics and governance is not being indicated on the transcript of students who have passed it. They want to find out why the institute has taken it off their transcript, although they wrote and passed that paper.
I don't get the question very clearly. Because we have conversion passes where we migrated from the old syllabus to the new syllabus.
Okay.
So there was a grade that was mapped between the old syllabus to the new one. So when you get a transcript and you are still writing the new syllabus, you get a new syllabus subject. If that's what she wanted to know, unless of course that is different.
Yeah, so they are saying that the institute must appreciate the time, money, and energy invested in passing the corporate strategy, ethics, and governance by indicating it on their transcripts. That is what James Brown is saying.
For those who pass the old syllabus, I mean, it appears. What I'm trying to say is that once we are migrated from the old to the new and you pass using the new syllabus, that will be reflected on the transcript. But he wants to be stated on the transcript that he passed corporate strategy, ethics, and governance. That's so important to him.
Yes. Okay, so Prof, I think Prof Mafu can come here. If the ability to pass the strategic case study is based on your knowledge in all the papers, why is it not separated from the rest of the level 3 papers so that it's easy to pass? I don't really get, but he's saying if the ability to pass the strategic case study is based on your knowledge in all the papers, why is it not separated from the rest of the level 3 papers so that it's easy to pass? I don't know if Prof understands that. And then Prof, are you here? Or any of the Julius, Joseph?
Okay, sorry, please, question. Sorry, I just missed the question
So
again.
if the ability to pass a strategic case study paper is based on your knowledge in all the papers, why is it not separated from the rest of the level 3 papers so that it's easy to pass?
Oh, I think that is why it is a part 3.4, the last paper. That presupposes that before you come to that paper, you should be well versed in all the other papers from level 1 to level 3 paper 3.3. So I think it's clear from the way it has been arranged in the syllabus. So I don't think we need to necessarily separate it, stand alone for students to understand that that paper is a capstone for all that we have studied in professional accountancy course. Thank you.
Thank you. So Jerry Ntiamokobi wants to find. Good afternoon, sir. Please, if students answer only 3 questions and attempt or get the 50 mark, but because they didn't attempt the other questions, could they be penalized and be failed? So you attempt 3 questions, you get your 50 marks. Will you be penalized for not attempting the other questions?
Okay, Alasan.
Yes,
I
sir.
think this is one of the misconceptions that students have out there. The key is to get your 50 marks. So if you use 2 questions to get 50 marks, you will pass. Nobody, ICA does not say because you did not answer 2 or 3 questions, but you get 50, you'll be denied your passing. It's never true. You will be passed. Once you've gotten your 50, you've gotten 50. That is it.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Isamon Kaila saying,
Sorry,
okay, you want to come in?
Yes, but alas, let the student bear in mind that it actually narrows their chance of passing, because the probability that you might be scoring is very, very limited. So 3 questions, answering 3 questions, yes, it's possible, but you are putting yourself into a risk. And the risk is that you might have to do extremely well in those 3 questions, because each of them might be requiring certain things. But like Julius said, as long as we add it and it's up to the 50, you are passed.
Thank you very much, Joseph, for adding that. Isamon Kaila saying is fine. ICA needs to weigh the questions against the allotted time. It is not just possible for a student to answer 8 standard questions in strategic management in 3 hours. My question is, how does the institute weigh the questions against the allotted time?
Okay, I can come in here. That is why in my presentation, I was highlighting that this is not an essay where you spend time management is very, very critical. And Prof also highlighted that. Bear in mind that we are trying to bring the outside the business world into the classroom to mimic what you'll be experiencing when you are in practice. And on that basis, it required a lot of pressure. And mitigating those pressure is that cocktail of the questions that the student are given and must answer. So if you are asked a question, don't over display it by writing in excess, because in the last sitting, for instance, you notice that certain students might have spent 2 hours in answering 2 questions because of poor time management. And the only solution to this is that before you get into the exams room, practice and practice and practice. Time yourself, dead in the night, and practice. Practice. Give yourself certain things and practice to make sure that you are up to that to face those level of questions. Thanks, colleagues can add.
All right, so Prof, please, don't you think the strategic case study is too voluminous for students? I think it relates to what you just answered. Mr. Osai, someone wants to find out, would the pre-scene question be sent to our email? How should students expect it?
No, it will be sent to, you'll get a text message with a link to the pre-scene material. So,
okay, so
each candidate will receive a text message, and that text message has a link to the pre-scene case study.
Okay. And then someone was also, why you are not allowing students to go into the exams hall with information gathered on the pre-scene information? I think you responded to that. It will count as foreign material.
Yes, so, that is true.
Peter wants to find out, why does the institute delay in bringing out prior sitting solution because it takes longer? So his question is, why do we delay in bringing out the marking schemes?
He's talking about marking scheme.
Yes. Why do we delay in bringing out marking schemes onto the website?
Is he talking about the examiners' comments?
Exactly, the chief examiners report.
I don't know. Okay, we delayed this time because we wrote examination not at the first week November, as used to be the case. That's why we see the delay. We wrote it to the end of November and the first week December because of the COVID. And so that caused the delay. But this time around, we'll keep to schedule. Thank you.
Thank you. Elvis Santiago wants to find out. Don't go. He says, when would the institute start the 3 sitting per year?
Yes. All that things being equal, we expect to start next year. Whatever it is, it will be communicated to students.
All right. All other things being equal next year. And then Jijo Aguado wants to find 15 minutes allocated to an exam paper with 7 to 10 pages for reading and planning doesn't seem enough.
The time allocated for preparation for reading?
Yeah, the 15 minutes. He thinks it's not enough for 7 to 10 pages question paper.
Is it talking about the case study or another subject? Is it corporate reporting?
7 to 10 pages. I think it can apply to all other papers.
Yeah, okay, if it's case study, I'll say the prison information. I mean, you read before you come to examination, so that's not an issue. Additional information is just 1 page, a pager. And so, if you're talking about corporate reporting, fine, but that's a standard for all professional examinations that I know of. And so, please, I think we have to make do with it for now.
Okay, so John Paul is asking.
Sorry,
yeah, you want to come in?
Let me also add that to students on this call, please appreciate that from the day you receive the prison material, your examination has actually started.
Interesting.
That is why I was highlighting on you enter the exams room that day with the prison material mind map, and that is in fact in real life situation. That's how you work. Thanks.
Thank you for adding that. So in the case of analyzing performance and position, can we use trend or common size analysis without conventional ratios? That's someone's question. Assuming you have to analyze the performance and then position of a company, can you use just the trend or common size analysis without the conventional ratios? Is this acceptable?
Okay. Can I come here, Alasan?
Please, you can.
I think it goes back to the requirement of the question. For instance, if the examiner has actually listed some specific ratios for student to answer, you cannot use common size or any other analysis. So I think we should refer to the requirement of the question, and that should guide the student what he ought to do in the examination hall. Thank you.
Thank you. And John Paul is saying the advanced FM and then strategic case study should be made optional papers at the final level. Is that possible? Because we've gone past advanced FM, but someone is saying the advanced FM and the strategic case study, can we make them optional so that you choose?
So he's proposing a new structure for examination. That's what it is. So please wait until when the syllabus is being reviewed. Then you can bring
a suggestion. So Zinabu Canton is back. He says, if one registers all 4 papers or 4 subjects, and for one reason or another was able to write one, would that affect the other subjects written? Because assuming you register for 4, and for one reason or the other, you are not able to write one, will it affect the other subjects you have written?
No. It is 4 subjects at level 3. What about the paper that you pass to be credited to you? And so let's say if you were absent in the advanced audit and assurance, but you passed 2 out of the 4, the 2 will be credited to you. That's what it is.
All right. So official OS wants to find why the institute hasn't released the pass list for level 1 and 2 for the November sitting. They want to find why you haven't released the pass list.
Olivia, if you are on, Olivia. Yes, what I know is that each candidate accesses his results on his portal.
Yes.
Exactly. And the pass list for level 3 usually is shown.
Okay.
I don't know about level 1, level 2, where you have to display the pass list. I quite remember in years past when the results were posted on notice board for everybody to see. Now it's not like that. Data protection issues are there. So you access your portal, you access your results. So if he's asking for everyone to see who passed and who failed, that's a different matter.
Okay, that's fine. So, Kes Heiser want to find out, please, some of us join late. Can we get the recorded version of this intervention? I think it's on Facebook. You can always get it, as well as on YouTube. So anytime you can view it. Target Professional Consult wants to buy. Please, can someone combine double pages as one and landscape writing on answer sheets? Please, if yes, kindly explain to me how it must be done. Julius or Joseph? So you want to know if you can combine pages as one, double pages as one. That's you write across.
Okay. Yeah, it's especially when it comes to cash budget or things that involve, yes. But advice rather would be that the person should turn the answer booklet horizontally, right? If it can be avoided, we should not run across the pages. But unless it is so necessary to do that, because maybe the question may be involving 12 months cash budget or something like that, then you can do it. But if it can be avoided, it should be avoided. We should just stick to one page and it should be horizontal.
Okay.
Alasan, let me also add that the students find themselves in those scenarios because they want, like I highlighted, they wanted to write the 1 million, they wanted to write the million and the zillions all in full. That result in them finding themselves in that scenario. Because we ourselves, before the questions come out, we test and make sure that it meets the minimum standard.
All right. Thank you very much. So still on the issue of the reading time, Jijo Abuado comes back, says the fact that the reading time doesn't start when each and every student has gotten hold of their copy of the exam paper. Some students get the papers and immediately their reading time starts, when others get it some few minutes after which it doesn't seem fair. Please, can anything be done about it? I don't know what you mean, but Mr. Asai, can you respond? So he says the reading time, the planning
Yeah.
and reading time. When is it
Yes.
supposed to start?
Yes. There's always a time lag between distributing the question papers and the time that each candidate receive the question and start reading through. And so if you are sitting at the back of the room, what it means is that those in front will get there before you. And so there will be some time lag, no matter how you look at it. But we try very hard to synchronize the time at all the centers so that everyone will get a fair number of minutes to review the questions before they start answering. I mean, we are not in a perfect situation, so it's possible that at some centers, the time might be shorter than the 15 minutes, but we'll try our best to ensure that we give everyone the opportunity to read through before they start examination.
Okay, so Zainab wants to suggest, I said, why don't the institute move the strategic case study paper to Fridays? Because it's not easy to write 4 papers within 4 days.
Yeah, we also appreciate that very much. But because of the structure of the syllabus, we have 6 questions, sorry, 6 subjects in level 2. And so it makes it very difficult for us to do so when it comes to the strategic case study. We appreciate that you need more time to prepare for it. But the structure of our syllabus is such that we have to make do with what we have now.
Okay, so Billy Tuition is back. Please, is the cost of capital and business valuation examinable under strategic case study? Cost of capital and business valuation, are they examinable under strategic case study?
If it's the syllabus, it's examinable.
Thank you for that answer, Mr. Okay, so those who are saying they have registered and they have issues with their fees, please call any of the numbers scrolling down there. You can call our Accra line on 0558 836988, Kumasi 0243 967134, Cape Coast 0264 423849, and then Tamale 0249 060694. Call any of our office lines and they will attend to you. James Brown is asking, is it possible to introduce multiple choice in the ICAG exams? Mr. Osai, are you considering that?
Actually, we are just discussing the possibility at the level 1, but it's not yet concrete. We will inform students when we come to a conclusion on this matter, especially for level 1. Obviously, not for level 2 and 3.
Okay. Is the institute considering increasing the reading time from 15 minutes to 20 or 25 minutes? Is this something under discussion, sir?
Not that I know of. I don't think we have discussed
that. Liban wants to find, can you take one paper at a time in level 3?
Yes, that's what some people do. Some register for all the 4 subjects, and then they prepare very well for 2 and clear. And then the next time they register for 2 subjects and clear them. It's a strategy. You have to be strategic in your thinking. Some will find it very useful. Others also go prepare for 4 subjects and pass all the 4 subjects. So it depends on the individual.
Is it possible to defer one paper? Assuming you register for 4 papers, can you defer one paper? Mr. Osai or Madam Olivia? Gijo wants to find out. Assuming you are in level 3.
Under what circumstance would you try to defer?
Due to certain circumstances beyond your control.
Please, there is a time limit for deferment.
Okay.
Yes, so if you don't get within that limit, it will not be approved. So if you have any paper to defer, you do so before the limit, the time limit.
Okay. So capital 001 or 0011 on CR, is there a weight allocation for the various standards? For example, the NTA, the non-current asset standards, financial instrument disclosure standards, etc. Do we have any specific allocation? I'm not so sure. What I know is that for standards, we have all financial reporting standards are put into one, and that is, I think, 30 marks. So we don't have specific allocation for each of the standards.
Yes, you are right. And as Professor Atulik said, you should learn all the standards from IFRS 1 to 17, IS 1 to 41. You have to know everything at this stage.
Yes. So will the institute consider finding a way to let students see their marked papers to know where they fell short if they fail? That's something they are considering.
Yeah, currently when you apply, you are shown the face of your answer script for you to know your marks. That's what we do for now. We have received some demands from students who wants to go through their scripts so that they will know where they fell short. That has not been approved yet.
Okay, and then Sabon Felicia, please may I know if the institute has any plan in place for a pregnant woman who have registered, but maybe the day of the exam the person is in labor, and because perhaps they couldn't defer, and then.
Mr. Alasan, I think this is an unforeseen circumstance. And we are a human institution, but where it can be proven, there's evidence to prove that the circumstance prevented somebody from writing examination. And this is just 1 in a million. It doesn't happen often. If it should happen and there's evidence to back that, why not? So we don't want any trump up evidence. No, evidence that is real.
Okay, thank you. I think so someone is also asking a question on the mobile money platform. Why the institute is not using a merchant number to absorb students from the transaction charges? I think this can be escalated to the finance team to look at. And then Awafo Zachary Khalid is asking, please, if a student at a time of registering as a student with ICA applied with first degree, but later on wants to use master's degree to apply after he or she has written those papers but did not pass, will he or she be granted the exemption? I don't know if Ms. Osa, you understand. So he registered with a
I
first
don't really
degree.
understand. Huh?
He registered with a first degree, and then later I want to use master's degree to apply for exemption. Although you have written and filled that paper, will the exemption be approved? So I come in with a first degree, I write FR and I go and do master's in accounting, and I want to come and apply for exemption in FR. Will I be given, or by virtue of the fact that I filled, you won't exempt me?
In actual fact, exemptions are granted based on qualifications. So if you have, for instance, a degree in accounting, you'll be given specific exemptions. And then when you get your master's in accounting too, you'll be given specific exemptions. So once you have graduated to the master's level, you will gain master's level exemption, irrespective of the fact that perhaps you might have failed at that level. So that's what it is. You get exemption based on your qualification. Yes.
Okay. So
let me just add that this also ring the bell. That's the qualification is not an end in itself. It's a means to an end. And that end is you going out there and use it to work. So under that circumstance, that practical example the person has given, it means that there is a huge knowledge gap that the person needs to work on. And currently, those of us in the industry working, that's the challenge we are having, which sometimes it's a big shame where you have people with chartered accountants attending interview and you can't believe what they are saying. The performance is well below the certificate that they are holding because of these issues of exemption and other things. So don't celebrate so much on exemption. Fill in the gap. It is a convenient way, but please remember that when you go and you are putting it into practice, you must live up to the certificate. And it doesn't say whether you are exempted on this, so you don't need to know that when you are putting it into practice. Thanks.
All right, thank you. So Solomon, I don't want to find out when the institute is moving online, where exams can be written everywhere across the globe.
Yes, at last time we have started the process, as I said, level 1. That is what is in discussion at the moment.
Okay.
So rest assured, your institute also will be going digital, and but we want to start from the level 1 and then graduate further. But I still at the discussion stage, so I don't want us to go viral with this. ICAG is going digital. No, please wait until you get the full information, please.
Okay, so there are 2 questions on strategic case study. The first one is why we don't have specific areas which are likely to come in case study, but for CR we have things like console ratios, etc. That's a question from Lawrence Noble. And then the second question has to do with the ANSOF. It says the ANSOF question is still not clear. I don't know, last sitting, if our examiners here have, if you can attempt to respond to that. I don't have the details, but is this the answer, the question on ANSOF for last sitting? The solution.
Okay. I don't have the question here with me, but
Okay.
if you look at that question critically, there was a preamble. But in asking the question, so the preamble, I think most students were carried away by the preamble of the question. But the tail end of the question required the student to use the unsolved metrics to analyze the opportunities available to the GGOH limited. And clearly, if you look at the unsolved metrics, the opportunities, that a company can look to are 4 within that context. So I understand to the extent that a number of students go carry away without reading the question completely into what is asking them to do. So from where we stand, from where we sit, we think that there is no ambiguity in that question. There was no ambiguity at all in that question. And these are my comments, basically.
All right. And then why we don't have specific areas for strategy, unlike other subjects?
Clearly, case study is not like corporate reporting that the institute has come up with a structure. I think we should just bear in mind that the institute itself, for courses that are amenable to that kind of structure, they've done that for those courses. But for case study, by its nature, it's not feasible to have a predetermined question 1. It will always be so and so that will come. I don't think it's feasible because the course by itself is analyzing a business problem and solving it. And we cannot have the same business problem happening for all situations. And that therefore explains that we cannot have a predetermined structure for case study, but to just apply ourselves within what comes, basically.
All right, thank you. So, Mr. Osai, on the issue of the woman who goes...
Let me just add to what Julius just said with specific, just to clarify further.
Okay.
Let's take a student. After reviewing a case, you might notice that there might be the need for some sources of financing. Immediately that one comes in, then as in practice, it means that whichever way you took or you might have taken, how is it going to impact on your capital structure? After that one, what do you need that money for? That drawn-in investment decision. And after that, where are we going to get that money from? Is it international financing or whatever it is? So it can go on and on. After that, then you bring in issue of ethical. Where is the stand of your organization? Do we want to do this and that and that? So it can go on and on. That's why the case study is a cocktail of anytime the questions are coming. And that is why you must be on top and you must exhaust the manual. And like the technical director said, please, the assurance is that there is no way we are going to ask you something outside your manual. Thanks.
Thank you very much. So, Mr. Osai, on the issue of the woman who goes into labor during exams, so if that should happen in that circumstance, what would be the procedure? What should she do?
Yes, as we said, because for level 3, you are supposed to register for all the 4 subjects. You can't defer one subject. You can only defer the whole level under certain circumstances.
Okay.
Exactly. But when it comes to emergency situations, like it is time for examination, I don't know why the child would decide to cover that day. But if you choose to cover that day, obviously this is a one-off situation. And with a clear evidence, why not? We are humans. We can defer for you. But as I said earlier, this does not happen often. It's 1 in a million.
Okay. That's fine. So if one defer Irene is asking, please, if one defer last sitting and this sitting he can't write, is it possible that payment can be transferred to another student who is writing?
This is quite, I don't know, forgive me for laughing, but I think that I don't know whether it happened before, but it has not happened before. And we don't do that. We don't transfer. It's for you and you alone, please.
Okay. I don't know if Dr. George Taki is around. He wanted to make a comment. I don't know if he's around now and his network, because we'll be wrapping up soon. Dr. Taki, are you around? Okay. So does ICAG have minimum salary payment for employers to pay CAs? Just I think we are wrapping up the questions. We've exhausted most of them.
Yes, and you wanted to please again.
Yeah, so it wants to know if ICA has a minimum salary that employers should pay CAs.
No, we don't have that.
Okay.
You see, when it comes to accountancy, as we always say, is the language of business. Accountancy is far different. If you're talking about practitioners, accountants in practice, yes, in some jurisdictions, they have minimum charge rates that are acceptable in the industry. But for the accountancy as a profession, it is very difficult for you to come up with a minimum wage. No, and you notice that those who come up with those minimum charge rates, they are in practice, like the lawyers, for instance. Lawyers in their chambers, they have the minimum rate that they charge out. But for those who are working for companies, they cannot. They cannot give them minimum salary. That is so with the accountancy. Those in practice, they can have it, but not those in business.
Okay. Thank you very much. So another question, in which month are the exams going to be organized if you start writing 3 times in a year?
Please, you wait for the full details when we come out formally, so students to know about it.
So we'll add Reverend Taki now. I think the IT team is working to add him so that he gives some comments. But someone wants to find out, just why have we stopped issuing certificate for each level completed?
Okay, with certificate for each level completed, that is not being done now, but it doesn't mean that in the future it not be considered. It's a good idea, yes, and I think it will be considered.
Okay. Reverend Taki wants to come in. So during the deferment, or during the time the deferment is being approved, can only one paper be deferred? So he's still, but I think you answered that if the person came back with a question again.
Yes, I think that been answered. I said that of course you are registering 4 subjects at level, you can't defer one subject. You can't do that. But the scenario that was given by the questioner, somebody who's in labor, the day of the examination, obviously, if the evidence is so clear, why not? But under normal circumstances, you can defer one subject in level 3 because you register for 4 in level 3.
All right. So, Mr. Taki, you're welcome now. You have the floor. We should be wrapping up soon, so maybe you can, yes, take over and then make it snappy fast. Thank we can't hear you. I don't know if you are muted.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, very sorry for that. I've been having challenges with my network and even my gadgets. All right, so just a few tidbits for students to take home with for strategic case study and then for corporate reporting as well. These are two heavyweight courses or subjects that students have to grapple with. And so we want to just tell students, one, they should read the requirement first. So when you are given the question paper, read the requirement first. It's always good to begin with the requirement. Don't start reading the case. Read the requirement. That gives you the objective, what the examiner wants you to look out for. Then you take a cursory view of what the case is about. And as you are reading through the case, of course, you are allowed to make notes, make your points, and then take note of key issues or specific things within the case. Then you now structure your answer. So don't start straight away answering the questions. Structure your answer, plan your answer. Know what you want to come up with first. Jot down some points before you come to your answer booklet and start writing. And you must relate your answers to the case study. That is very crucial. In answering case study questions are not answered in isolation. Earlier on, I did indicate that if you look at the syllabus, it always talks about that is applicable to a specific scenario. And so that is the uniqueness of the strategic case study paper. For the other subjects, you could answer it straight away, but for case study, you must always relate your answer to the case study. That shows an appreciation of the principles that cut across HR, marketing, financial management, accounting, and so on. And be concise with your answers and possibly quote some part of the narratives, to support your analysis and your answers. Now, you must be able to express yourself. That's one area we've noticed that students are unable to express themselves during the exams. You may understand the question, you may know the answer, but if you're unable to express yourself, it will be difficult for the examiner or the marker to understand or to know what is in your mind. So be clear in your language. Yes, the course is not about English language, but your ability to use language effectively would go a long way to favor you. And you must write legibly. If the examiner cannot read your handwriting, if you have bad handwriting, it makes marking difficult. And an examiner may hardly gloss over important points if he or she cannot read your handwriting. So you must write legibly. Be concise and straightforward also with your answer. There's no need to overemphasize or elaborate a point. If the answer, the question is discuss, go straight to discuss. If it says identify or analyze, you go straight to answer. And do not attempt to answer more questions than required, because you've studied so much. Even if the question, the examiner or the question doesn't demand a particular point, you want to bring it in simply because you know you've done it. You waste the examiner's time. No examiner is giving is paid extra for marking extra points by students. The examiner want to mark concise and straightforward answers as much as possible. So that's basically for a corporate strategic case study, even though that some of the issues there would apply to corporate reporting as well. But let me talk about corporate reporting in conclusion. So the corporate reporting paper is the key paper so far as ICE exams is concerned. And we've observed that over the years, students who do not write financial reporting paper find it difficult passing corporate reporting paper, particularly those who come for exemption. And so I want to quickly encourage our students who come for exemption, who are exempted from writing financial reporting, that it is important that you tackle some of the financial reporting papers, even if you were exempted from it. And even if you have already passed the financial reporting paper, when you are attempting the corporate reporting paper, please go back and tackle some of the financial reporting paper. That edition for the corporate reporting paper. Particularly when it comes to the IFR, the International Financial Reporting Standards, all the standards, as Professor Atulik said earlier on, are examinable. And so the fact that some of standards have been specified in the corporate reporting syllabus does not mean that the standards that have been listed in the financial reporting syllabus are not examinable. It is assumed that you have that prior knowledge in that paper. And so once you have that prior knowledge in that paper, you should be able to apply that knowledge in the corporate reporting paper and demonstrate understanding of it. Now, you should also be able to you should also abreast yourself with the updates on the standards, because some of the standards have been updated or some of the standards have been withdrawn by the IASB. And so in that case, your ability to apply the current version of some, particularly IFRS 16, okay, on leases. So when the ICA releases a note or a comment or a statement that says that this standard is examinable at this setting, you must also abreast yourself and not be using a previous standard. I mean, typical one is what I just mentioned, IFRS 16 on leases. Previously, it was IAS 17 on leases, and now we're using IFRS 16. So IAS 17 is not examinable anymore. And so if you are using the knowledge in answering a question on leases using IAS 17, then you find yourself wanting, because we are using the current version of the standard. Now, again, in answering the question for corporate reporting, you must strategically know which questions are your strength. Yes, the questions are arranged in a certain order, where we begin with the consolidated financial statements, question 1. Then we go to the IFRS question, to ethics, to business valuation, and to analysis. But you must look at your strength and look at which one you can start with. That will give you a lot of marks to pass, because your objective as a student is first and foremost to pass the exams. Now, we've observed over the year that students don't prepare well, and so you find out that some students would go into the exams and they just want to add marks to pass the group account question by just adding the figures of the parent and that of the subsidiary, make as many marks as possible. In that case, it is possible that you may lose marks, because when marks are being awarded, there's a tendency that sometimes the standard or the nature of the marking scheme or the marking guide may not go in your favor, particularly if you're just adding marks and not demonstrating an understanding of how group accounts are prepared. And so it is important to have a fair idea of all the standards. It is very difficult of all the areas. It is very difficult for you to pass a corporate reporting paper when you just have knowledge in just 1 or 2 areas, and or as more 3 areas, and think that would pass you. It will be very, very difficult. You will need to attempt all the 5 questions, so as show that you understand what is required in the corporate reporting paper 3.1. We wish students all the best. I think I'll end it here. Alasan.
Thank you very much, Reverend Taki. So I think we should be wrapping up. I don't know if Mr. Osei can give his closing comment, or okay. So I'm going to start with closing comment from all of our examiners. Joseph, I don't know if you have any closing comments you want to give.
Well, mine is just to wish them well, those who have registered in the coming exams, and also to encourage them that they must actually work very hard, spend quality time, and make sure that they cover extensively the syllabus, and nothing will stop them from passing. The other aspect is just like what colleagues have said. Please don't set your questions and mark, because you are not the one going to mark. Make sure you read and read and read again, and make sure that you understand the question set before you start answering. And allocate time to review your work, and make sure that you don't actually give wrong numbers to different questions, among other things. And make sure that you handled the script very well. And wish you all the best. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Julius, do you have any final comment for us today? Julius. Okay, Julius is not around. Olivia, do you have any comment for us? Madam Olivia, any special notice you want us to be aware of going into the exam? All right, if they are all not willing to talk, then Mr. Osai, please take over and then close us. Your final comments.
Thank you so much, Alassane. Yes, I have this to say. Students, you should know that at this stage of the examination, you are expected to apply your knowledge at the advanced level. You know, we have 3 levels: the knowledge level, the application level, that is level 2, and then advanced level. So you are going to apply your knowledge at the advanced level. Let it be at the back of your mind. With this said, I wish you all the best. As I said earlier, at ICAG, student passing examination is our concern, and we do everything possible to help students to pass their examination. It's my wish that all of you come out with flying colors, you pass examination, and may all that have been said here be with you. Ponder over it, think about it, and it will end well with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Osai. Before we leave, I want to remind all of us, those who want to write at UPSA especially, today is the final day for registration for that center. You can go ahead and then register. Payment can be made on or before the 16th. So make sure you continue registering. For those who are yet to register, please take the decision now. It is only when you have taken the decision that you'll be committed to it. We thank you very much for being part of this. As usual, we'll continue supporting our students to pass and then to become professional accountants. Those who have issues with your payments, please continue trying our lines. It's because we are picking a lot of calls. That is why you've not been able to reach us. Kindly continue to do so. The numbers are being scrolled on the screen. Pick any of them and then talk to us. We'll be willing to assist you to rectify all issues you have. Thank you very much for being part of this program. We'll come your way again on another virtual outreach. My name is Al-Hassan Yusuf Traore. I have been your moderator. So Reverend George Taki will give us a closing prayer as we bid you farewell. And we wish you the very best of luck in the professional exams. Thank you. Reverend Taki, please, if you are here, kindly give us the closing prayer.
Okay, please let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the gift of life. Thank you for your mercy, Lord. Thank you for this time of our student outreach, sharing ideas with them as they prepare for our exams, specifically in the strategic case study exams and then also the corporate reporting paper, which has been a challenge to many of our students. We pray that, Lord, as they are preparing for the exams, you will give them more insights, you will give them the strength, the ability to be able to retain and to understand all that they study. We are praying for the institute. We are praying for our examiners and the staff at the institute, that as they prepare to go through this exams process, even in these times, trying times, you, Lord, will be with all of us. Thank you for everything you've done for us. Keep us till we meet again. In Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Reverend. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the program. We will see you some other time. Bye-bye.
The very essence of leadership is to become more. At ICAG, we stand for leadership and we are inspired to offer more. Leadership stands up to be answerable. We use our national and international conferences to tell our story and hold ourselves to high global benchmarks. Leadership is where brilliance is rewarded. We reward brilliance with scholarships for postgraduate students. Leadership thrives on fresh ideas. Our tertiary business sense challenge makes you see business from a different perspective. Leadership is not about today. We keep an eye on tomorrow by providing internships in high-ranked institutions to inspire the next generation of business leaders. Leadership is acquiring ATSWA, CA Professional, Post-Chartered Diploma from ICAG. ICAG, where leaders become more.